And I'm certainly thankful for the incredible privilege of serving this president and the American people. So this is how it's going to work today, since I'm here and I get to call on you. If you want to ask a question, I think it's only fair, since I've shared what I'm thankful for, that you start off with what you're thankful for. So anybody want to be first on what they're thankful for?
I'll give it a whirl.
April, you've been so eager, so I'm going to go with you to start us off on what you're most thankful for.
I'm thankful for life. I'm thankful for my children. I'm thankful for 20 years in this job. I'm thankful to be able to talk to you and question you every single day.
I feel the gratefulness there.
Now my question.
Yes, ma'am.
I hope you felt the passion of my thankfulness. So the question is, since I didn't get a chance to ask Secretary Tillerson, there's a black hole when it comes to intelligence when it involves North Korea. And he was talking about, he said, Secretary Tillerson said, things will get worse until they're ready to talk. With that said, the rhetoric is still amping up. What is the concern about the intelligence that we don't know about? What do we know as relates to the nuclear capability of North Korea? And what are the concerns about the things that we don't know?
I mean, obviously, the biggest concern is making sure that we take steps every single day to protect Americans. That's what the action of the president that he's taken today and that the Treasury Department will take tomorrow is, again, putting that maximum pressure on North Korea to put a very large focus on denuclearizing the Korean Peninsula. That's been the top priority, and that's going to continue to be our priority. We don't feel that they're fully there yet, and we want to keep pushing to make sure that we're taking steps to prevent them from getting any further into this process. I can't go really deep into specifics on information like that, but certainly, again, the priority of the administration is to protect Americans and partner with our allies and our friends around the globe to do that. And I think that's what you're seeing in some of the actions that took place today and that you'll see again tomorrow.
And lastly, on this Twitter, this back and forth Twitter with the president.
Sorry, April, I'm going to keep moving.
I understand, but this is a hot story. But does the president regret?
And I'm sure that one of your colleagues will happily ask.
Does the president regret this tweet? I mean, he came back twice yesterday.
April, I'm starting to regret calling on you first.
But you were thankful. You were still thankful for all of us. I'm part of the group.
I am, but I don't want that to go away, so I'm going to move on to one of your colleagues. Francesca, go ahead.
Well, I am very thankful for you calling on me regularly as well. But I will follow your lead and be thankful for our service members. My brother's a service member, and our police. My dad is a police officer, so I'm very thankful for their service. But I want to ask today about something that Kellyanne Conway said this morning on Fox and Friends about the Alabama Senate race. She brought up tax reform and tax cuts and said that the Democrat running in that race would not be a vote for tax cuts. And she did not directly endorse the Republican that's running, Roy Moore. However, it opened the door, I think, to a question that we haven't really discussed in here yet, which is whether the president would be supportive of a writing campaign of someone like Luther Strange, who he supported in the primary, or Jeff Sessions, his attorney general. Both of those are going around.
Actually, I think we have addressed this. I've addressed it quite a few times, but the president feels that it's up to the people of Alabama to make that determination who their next senator will be. I've answered a number of questions on this topic, and our position hasn't changed over the weekend. It's certainly still the same as it was when I answered those questions on Thursday and on Friday.
Do you ask that you said whether the president would support a writing campaign?
We said we
Jeff
support
Sessions?
the people of Alabama making the decision on who their next senator should be. John Decker.
Thanks a lot, Sarah. I'm thankful for my health, my family, my faith. I think I live in the best country on the face of the earth.
Isn't this nice? I feel like
And
everybody happy.
I'm thankful, of course, that you address us every day here in the briefing room. My question's also about the Senate race in Alabama. This is an unusual question because normally we wouldn't ask you a question about the Republican nominee running for statewide office and whether or not the president is supportive of the Republican nominee. But my question is just that. Would you be pleased if Roy Moore wins his Senate race in Alabama? Would the White House be pleased with that outcome?
Look, obviously the president wants people, both in the House and the Senate, that support his agenda. But as I've said, and as the Hatch Act prohibits me from going any further, we certainly think that this is something that the people of Alabama should decide. And I'm not going to be able to weigh in anything further beyond those comments. Blake?
Thank you, Sarah. I am thankful for my wife, who is pregnant with our soon-to-be second child.
Congratulations, very exciting.
Thankful for my family, my parents.
Good luck. Number 2 only gets a lot harder.
Having a bee this week, I'm thankful that they sent me to the University of Michigan and not Ohio State. Go Blue. I'll get that out there. My question is on taxes as well. The president seemed to suggest today that Democratic help is all but gone for. Do you still think that you can get Democrats on board?
We'd certainly still like to. Frankly, I don't know why Democrats wouldn't want to support tax cuts for the middle class. As we've said many times before, seems like something they should be running to cast their vote for, and we'd certainly welcome their support if they want to get on board and help that effort. Cecilia.
Thanks, Sarah. I am thankful for the First Amendment.
Yes! We're thankful for that.
Kellyanne Conway today here.
I think we all are.
Good.
What part of it, though?
Kellyanne Conway, I want to ask the Kellyanne Conway question a different way, though, because she was here on the North Lawn, and she said that she warned Alabama voters not to support Doug Jones, not to be fooled by Doug Jones. So is that the position of this White House, that voters are better off voting for someone accused of assaulting teenage girls than a Democrat?
Look, as I've answered, I think even for the 3rd or 4th time just today, as well as 10 or 15 times on both Thursday and Friday of last week, the position of the White House hasn't changed. We feel like the people of Alabama should make the determination on who their next senator should be.
But she made a clear suggestion over who they should vote for.
And I'm giving you the answer, the position of the White House. Jim?
Sarah, well, first of all, I'm grateful for my daughter and my family, and the fact that I went to the Ohio State University as opposed to Michigan.
We'll let that slide.
But my question is, does the president really regret intervening in the case of the UCLA basketball players? And what message does that send to other U.S. citizens who may be held captive by a foreign government?
Look, the president was certainly very glad and thankful to see the release of the 3 UCLA athletes by the Chinese government. And frankly, it's really fortunate that the president has built a strong enough relationship with President Xi of China that he was able to help secure the release of the American citizens. Whenever the president is able to use his office and those relationships to help American citizens held overseas, he's certainly going to do that. And again, certainly the president was happy to intervene, and I think he's made that clear by taking that action upon himself to do that without being asked, and certainly something that he's done several times in these brief, short 10 months that he's been in office, where he's secured the release of several American citizens and brought them home. Steve?
Yeah, Sarah, I'm thankful for surviving our 12 days in Asia in one piece. I'm happy to be back here. The president has not made a weekly radio broadcast for more than a month now. Have they been scrapped by this administration, and if so, why?
No, we're always looking for different ways. We received quite a few comments and a lot of feedback that the weekly address wasn't being used to its full potential. So we're looking at different ways that we can revamp that and make it where it's more beneficial and actually gets more information out. We'll keep you guys posted as those details happen. I know there certainly will be a Thanksgiving message. I'm not sure on the specifics in the date, but I'd be happy to follow up with you on that front. Jenna?
Sarah, I have a really quick Roy Moore question, and then I want to ask you about welfare reform. Has the president talked to Roy Moore since November 9th, which is the day that these accusations first came out?
Not that I'm aware of. I'm not aware of any conversations.
Yeah, and then today the president said that welfare reform is desperately needed. It needs to be reformed. What exactly is he talking about? Is he talking about food stamps? Is he talking about Medicaid? What is he talking about in that comment?
I think there's no secret. The president has spoke about this during the campaign and something that he's mentioned briefly since taking office. And when we have specifics on what that will look like, we'll certainly announce them and roll them out. I don't anticipate that happening over the next couple of weeks. We're very focused on tax reform and making sure we get that done by the end of the year. But this is something that the president has a great deal of interest in, and I think you can count on probably the first part of next year seeing more specifics and details come out on that. Zeke.
Thanks, Sarah, for the question. You mentioned on Friday the president released an expanded list of potential selectees for the Supreme Court should a vacancy open up. Number one, if you elaborate.
You did break the rule of not offering anything.
Thank you for the question. Could you explain to me a little bit why the president felt it was necessary to add to the list that he put out during the campaign? And then also, if you address concerns about the diversity of some of the president's judicial picks, not the Supreme Court, but more broadly across the federal judiciary, and talk about how the White House sort of values or doesn't value diversity among the federal judiciary when it comes to selecting potential nominees.
Certainly value diversity, not just in the judiciary, but across the administration, and always look for more ways to grow that, improve that. But in terms of the release on Friday, the president hadn't added any new names in nearly a year and felt like it was a good time to do that. There's nothing more to read into it other than expanding the list should there ever be a potential vacancy for us to fill.
This administration, the corporate AP analysis, does lag the previous 3 administrations when it comes to the diversity of the nominees already put forward. Can you sort of address why that's the case?
I'd have to look at the specifics before I could comment on the study. Margaret?
Thank you. I'm thankful also for the First Amendment and for this exercise.
I think it's good for preparation for everybody for Thursday with your families, so that you guys will have already thought through what you're thankful for, so you'll be the most prepared. Exactly.
Well, yes. Can you tell us whether the president or the White House actively encouraged the Justice Department to move forward with the federal antitrust suit against AT&T Time Warner against the deal that's been announced today?
No, I'm not aware of any specific action taken by the White House.
Do you have a view on that? You're saying on the front end, no. Would you have any statement about that now?
Not at this time.
Sarah. Well, first, my gratitude. I'm grateful to have the opportunity to fill in for our chief, John Roberts, and I'm grateful to only have a month left. One in the oven, so it's my first. I've got a lot to learn. My question is back to the UCLA basketball players. President Trump over the weekend, he called them ungrateful. And I'm just curious because, the players have already apologized in their briefing last week. So what more would President Trump like to see from them? What would satisfy him?
Look, I think that the president, like I said, was happy to intervene. I think it was less about the players, and the father of one of the Americans released seemed to have a problem with it. Frankly, it didn't seem like the father wanted the president to intervene, which I think would have been a sad thing if he hadn't, most likely.
And
Matthew?
Does he believe that he really should have left the players in jail?
No, I think if that's the case, he wouldn't have taken the action that he did and certainly acted in order to help get those individuals released and brought back to the country. Matthew?
So following on that, if that's not how he feels, then why did he say that he should have left them in jail? And
Look,
what are we supposed to take from that?
The president it was a rhetorical response to a criticism by the father. Again, I think the president was happy to see the release of these individuals and have them back in the United States. We'll take one last question. John Gizzi.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm thankful for the position I have and the colleagues who are my friends. I'm thankful for my father, 96 years old and going strong, and to my wife, my heroine, thankful to her for saying yes on the 4th request. My question is about Zimbabwe.
Great segue, brother.
That's the best pivot I've ever seen.
Yeah. Will the administration recognize the new regime that apparently is being led by General Chiwenga in Zimbabwe, and will there be any interaction with the new government in Hariri, specifically about their cutting back on the influence of China and North Korea in their country?
I don't have any announcements on our relationship with Zimbabwe at this time, but certainly we'll make sure and keep you guys posted. Again, want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, and thank you for participating in this very fun exercise. We'll be around today and tomorrow. Thanks, guys.